It's the Monday Morning Show. Today is Friday, September 27th, and I've been missing a lot of sleep, so this is going to be a rather low energy, as Trump would call it, podcast today. It's the Monday Morning Show Unplugged today, which means I'm working without a script and without a net. Well, okay, the net is my editor, which is also me, but certainly working without a script. And today I wanted to talk about hiking, especially the next hiking season to come, or the forthcoming hiking season, because to me, hiking season goes from about September to about June. July and August out here in Southern California usually suck for hiking, and this September is just now starting to cool off a little bit. And my plan is to go hiking for the first time in this season, this coming up weekend. Man, I wasn't kidding when I was saying this was low energy. I am exhausted. This is what happens when you miss as much sleep as I do. Anyway, so, do you have hikes planned? I have hikes planned. And let me tell you, this weekend, tomorrow, is going to start with a nice, easy hike. And I emphasize easy because, again, I haven't hiked since June. In fact, I haven't walked all that much either. I am terribly out of shape. And I know that once I start hiking, I'm not going to like it very much. I'm going to be in a lot of pain, especially on Sunday. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Saturday, tomorrow, my plan is to drive down to Black Star Canyon, right outside of beautiful suburban Orange County, California. There's a little road that heads off into the hills, and it's fenced. Everything's fenced. But it's not really a park. It's not really tended to that much. Occasionally you'll see a county ranger out there, but it really is kind of just a local road that turns into a fire road and heads up into the hills. So there's not a whole lot to it. It's not a great big hike. It's just a nice little 7 to 8 mile walk. Just a nice stroll. You have this beautiful canopy of trees over you most of the time during the hike, at least until you start heading up that fire road. But before you do, you've got this beautiful canopy of trees and the hillsides. So when you're hiking, it's nice and cool. And tomorrow will be really cool. The highs this weekend aren't supposed to even hit 70, which is really unusual. It's been pretty hot. But I'm going to take advantage of it while I can. So, Black Star Canyon for me tomorrow morning, just to ease my way back into hiking. Because Sunday, I'm going to be heading back to Warner Springs and hiking once again on the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail. I can't wait to get back on the PCT. There's something about that trail. I don't know what it is. And I don't know if anyone really knows what it is, but there's something about getting back on the PCT that just feels right. It just feels like, I don't know, I can't put it into words, but I get back out there and everything just kind of comes together in my head. Just kind of, I don't know, it's like I'm centered back on the trail. Which is funny because when I've hiked on the trail, or I should say when I've backpacked on the trail, I've been anything but centered. But when I hiked from Scissors Crossing to Warner Springs on the PCT, that was probably the most enjoyable and the craziest part of the PCT I've hiked. And I'll get to that. I'll get to a little bit of that in a minute. But my plan is Sunday morning to head out really early as I can manage, but not too early. I'm not crazy. And drive down to Warner Springs and hike 8 to 10 miles. I'm not going to go crazy. Hiking out towards Eagle Rock. I will be filming it, and I will be putting a video on my YouTube channel. Why wouldn't I? It's Eagle Rock. It's the PCT. It's going to be a beautiful day. Very cloudy, and it's supposed to be a little windy, so I don't know if I'll actually be heard on the video, but the images should be nice. And I'll just have to dub everything else. You go down to Warner Springs, and it's this little, it's not even a town. It's just a few buildings. off of, I'm going to say, local highway 78. Maybe not exactly a highway. It's really a 2-lane road. And you park at this community center they have, or on the street if there's nothing at the community center or if it's locked up. And the trail takes you down into a creek bed and back up the other side. And for the first, mile, maybe 2 miles, heading south from Warner Springs, you get another beautiful canopy of trees. I love trees. We don't have enough of them out here. And the California oaks that are right outside Warner Springs on the PCT just spread out right above it. They just stretch their arms and cover you up with a beautiful canopy. And there should still be some leaves, even though it is autumn. And it makes hiking through there just gorgeous. And you leave there, you head up into the hills a little bit, and the hiking gets a little strenuous, but it's nothing major. That's a beautiful thing about going from Warner Springs. It's not a hard hike. It's pretty cool. So you get to Eagle Rock, and if you haven't seen pictures of Eagle Rock off the PCT, you really should check it out. It's all over the internet. And what I want to do is I want to hike past Eagle Rock, because there's a creek out there that I had the privilege of stopping at when there was water in the creek. And I'm telling you, that thing saved my life. So this was, 3 years ago, maybe? My wife dropped me off at Scissors Crossing off the PCT, and I was it was supposed to be a test hike, and so I only planned to go from Scissors Crossing to Warner Springs. And I was so dumb, I told my wife, meet me back at Warner Springs tomorrow at noon. So she's dropping me off at Scissors Crossing at 8 in the morning, and I tell her to pick me up the next day at noon, not realizing that that's really a 3-day hike, not a 2-day hike, and certainly not a 1.5-day hike. And so I'm climbing up the side of, I believe it's the San Felipe Mountains, perhaps? But the side of this great big ridge that you spend the whole day taking switchbacks going up and back and forth, and it's 100 degrees out there. And so I'm burning up, and it's just, you get about, 6 miles in, and you've already gone up one ridge and, down another, and you're going up another. And I know that for myself, at least, there was that moment of thinking, you've got to be crazy to do this. What is wrong with you? But the thing is, first of all, it's beautiful. The view from the top of that ridge, or even anywhere as you're working way up, is just gorgeous. And so the view, the scenery is great. But then there's that sense of satisfaction you get going up that ridge. And I went, for those of you familiar with the PCT, I went from Scissors Crossing up to the Third Gate Water Cache and down until I was nearly at that little cave. In fact, I was just around the corner. I don't know what the mile marker is on that, but I was more than halfway to Warner Springs. And I hiked all day and into the night. I night hiked, and only at about midnight did I lay down my ground cover and lay down my sleeping bag. I cowboy camped and didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep still at that point. So I stayed up all night watching the stars, wishing I could sleep. And I got up out of my backpack around 4 in the morning as the sun was just starting to poke up. No, you know what? It wasn't even then either, because I remember I was hiking in the dark. The sun didn't start going up until I was over on the other side of the ridge. Over on the other side of the ridge, descending towards Beryl Springs. And it was gorgeous, of course. So you've got that sense of fulfillment, and you've got that scenery. And of course, I had a stupid deadline to meet. What's 4 in the morning to noon? That's like 8 hours. And and I hiked almost at a run all the way down to Barrel Springs and then over the hills. And as you come back down one of the hillsides, there's a little creek there, and I don't know the name of it, and it doesn't always have water. But it did have water, and I was out. I thought from Barrel Springs to Warner Springs I could probably make it with just a liter, which was foolish of me because it was so hot that day. So I saw that creek, and I pretty much just threw off my backpack, put it by a rock up the hillside a little bit so it wasn't too close to the water and all the bugs that were around the water. Collected some water, went up, sat down for about 15 minutes. I was really on a crazy deadline. I should have stopped much longer. I should have taken much longer breaks, which of course I didn't do because at the time I didn't really understand why I would possibly need one. And I made it to Warner Springs by noon. And in the video that I took, or I should say the video that I put on my YouTube channel, you would, were you to watch it, you would see that from Barrel Springs on, it turns into just a series of still pictures because I didn't have the time to stop to film. And I was so out of breath the whole way, I couldn't even talk. So I just would raise up my camera, click, 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 my phone, click, 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 take some pictures. And I didn't even take pictures of the good things that I saw because I saw a couple wild turkeys out there amongst the oaks and the canopy that covers the trail. And they were incredible. They were just gorgeous birds. And so I'm going back to Warner Springs. And I won't hike all the way as far as Barrel Springs, but I want to get to that little creek just to see it. Because I haven't backpacked, I should say, on the PCT now it's been, I've missed 2 years, so it's been 3 years since I was last on it. And I made a lot of mistakes on that last attempt, and I'll give you a couple of them just right off the bat. My test hike from Scissors Crossing to Warner Springs was way too short. I should have taken 3 days, 2 nights, but I took 1 night and 2 days, actually a day and a half. So that was silly. But then when I started the actual hike from Campo, the actual backpacking trip from Campo, and I camped at about mile 13, and the zipper on my sleeping bag broke. Well, my first impulse was get home and get this sleeping bag fixed because temperatures were below freezing and I wasn't too happy about any of that. I wanted to get somewhere warm. So I got home, I got my sleeping bag fixed, and then the next thing I did was the worst thing, the wrongest thing. What I should have done is I should have gotten back on the trail, but I didn't. I just kind of chalked it up to, oh well, I'm back, I goofed, rather than just driving down and getting back on the trail, which I could have done. My sense of dedication to the trail at that time, my stick-to-itiveness, wasn't really sticking at that point. And I think in the last couple of years, I've learned a little bit more as I've gone out and taken more hikes and done more backpacking and camped out more often. I've gotten slightly better at staying on the trail. And I guess we'll find out. Because this year, now 2 years ago when I missed the trail, it was because of poor planning. Last year when I missed the trail, or I should say this year, it was because of bronchitis. So, 2020, I'm going to try and go back again. I really enjoy backpacking on the PCT. It's really, really something to meet the people that are on the trail and just to be on the trail and to hike out there. Even though I've been pretty shitty at it, I've loved it. So I guess my message to anyone listening would be don't worry about if you're going to be good at it. You know, if you want to do it, let yourself do it. Let yourself make a few mistakes. I know I did, and I learned an awful lot. So next year, I'm heading back to the PCT, providing I can get a permit. And if I can't get a northbound permit, I'll get a southbound permit. And I know I'm not good enough to through hike the whole trail. That's not where I'm at right now. So I think my guesstimate as to how I would do, given the opportunity next year, I'm gonna guess I'll stay on there a week. That's what I'm calling 1 week. I think if I could make 1 week next year on the PCT, then the year after that maybe 2, and the year after that maybe 4. I'm not really hung up on goals. I'm not really hung up on mileage. My plan is just to hike as much as I can and enjoy it and get as much out of it as I can at where I'm at the time. Now here's the interesting thing, because I've been working on something else also, which is the Oregon Coast Trail. I've been dying to hike the Oregon Coast Trail. That's right up my alley. The PCT is a backcountry trail, which isn't really for me. I like being amongst civilization a little bit. And so the Oregon Coast Trail actually sticks with some civilized areas, and you go back into towns every now and then, and it's kind of cool. I kind of like that. And so I'm hoping to do 2 weeks on the Oregon Coast Trail as well. We'll see. Again, I am not known as being a great backpacker, but I'm trying. I'm sticking with it. I really love it, and I'm hoping I get better. So what are your plans for this season, for going backpacking or for taking a hike? I hope you have some. I hope you have a wonderful time, and I hope I see you out on the trail. If you think you're going to be on the PCT somewhere in the Southern California area, drop me a line, let me know. I don't know if I can meet you, but it's always nice to hear from another person who loves being out on the PCT or the Oregon Coast Trail or wherever it is you like to hike. So until next time, be good to yourself, be kind to others. Let's make this world a better place, and I'll see you on the next Monday morning show, probably unscripted, all over again.